Okay, guys, here we go. Video number 5, looking at identifying and sustaining a competitive advantage, a particularly important thing in regards to business success and or failure. Strap yourselves in. This one's quite meaty, but a very easy one if you understand the differences or the different strategies to achieve a competitive advantage. You're going to have a lot of meat on the bone. Thank you, Mr. Mounjed. So a competitive advantage, guys. We've covered this in the past, so a lot of it's going to sound repetitive, but in terms of its definition, page 422, it's in the BizWord down the bottom there, and it refers to the strategies used by business to gain an edge over its competitors. Okay, that is the definition. It's almost outlined within the term itself, but it's a really important thing to both identify as a business, but then to sustain as well. So the reason that a business must adopt strategies that give it a competitive advantage is basically to use and develop its own strengths. Okay, if you don't rely on your strengths within your business, whether that's being smarter, having a more innovative product, identifying a gap in the market that other competitors haven't got, you're making it hard for yourself. So you have to rely on the strengths internally within the business. Remember, we can relate that back to the situational analysis, and strengths is an internal factor. So there are two main strategies a business can use to gain a competitive advantage, and you should know them by now. One starts with P, the other starts with D. Have you got it? Well, here we go. The first one is a price or cost strategy. Okay. So what does this strategy require? Well, it requires the business to actually want to be the leader within its industry in terms of price and cost, whether that's being the cheapest product out there or actually having the cheapest production. Okay. So that's the important. You have to want to be the leader within the industry in terms of price and cost. So in going for this strategy, a business should aim to lead in two areas, as I briefly mentioned: lowest production costs, and therefore that should hopefully spill over into the lowest prices. Okay. So there's many ways you can achieve lowest production costs. We're going to look at those in a second, but it's important that, and this is the important thing, that there can be no compromise on quality in this strategy. Okay, just because you're doing something on the cheap, you cannot reduce your quality. You can reduce your quality, but there's one thing you cannot reduce your quality in relation to, and that is your competitors. Okay. As soon as you're having a worse off product, okay, one that is unreliable, breaks, people will then start thinking, I'll pay that extra dollar for that other product. Okay, so if you're going to be cheaper, you still have to ensure decent quality. So there's four main ways of achieving cost advantages for a business and be a price leader within an industry. The first one, and it's on page 423, organised in that mind map there. The first one is improving efficiencies of operations, and that refers to the ability of a business to streamline the processes that occur within that business. Okay, what that means, what does streamline mean? Well, that basically means making things as efficient as possible, where there's no wastage and things work in perfect order. Okay, the textbook gives the example of a manufacturing business that to have efficiency of operation, you may use more machinery, or perhaps have specialized parts of the production line. Whether that means that there is one operator completes one part of the process. So if you think about the process of a car being built on the production line. Okay, if you look at some of those businesses, car businesses, they can produce a car in under an hour. Okay, and if you think about one person doing that, that's physically impossible. Okay, so that is the efficiency of operation. Okay, and if you're producing a car in under an hour, you're going to be doing it, if you're doing it on the next thing, which is economies of scale, okay, you're going to be doing it um, with a cost advantage. Okay, I'll look at economies of scale in a minute. The next one that I wanted to do is low cost labor. This is the next way to achieve a cost advantage. And this seems pretty obvious because we've looked at the fact that employees are the most valuable but the most expensive resource for a business. And particularly in Australia, labor is definitely the most expensive inputs of operations. Okay, our wages are extremely high. Okay, that bodes well for your teacher here. But unfortunately for this school, they're not going to be able to outsource the teaching overseas unless you all link up to live cameras and you get taught by some poor person in a factory in China. But one of the ways that a business can actually achieve low-cost labour is obviously to go overseas. Okay, we've looked at Itty Bitty as a case study and how that woman took the production process over to China into one of the factories over there. It's unfortunately a fact of life that wages in China are much cheaper, and so therefore if you have lower labour costs, that's going to flow into the cost of the whole production of a good. Okay, obviously if you're in the service-based industry in Australia, that's going to be very difficult to avoid, although perhaps you might work in an industry where you could employ younger people who have a different award wage. Okay, so economies of scale, which I mentioned very briefly before, but in regards to efficiency of operations. Okay, so that to understand economies of scale, it relates to the level of outputs for a business and the cost of the inputs. So for example, the cost of labor or raw material. So if you're actually having, the more you produce, the less it should be costing you. Okay, so coming back to the car example, if you're actually producing a car every hour, it doesn't matter if you're employing 100 people on the workshop floor. If you're producing 100 an hour, that means that's, or I should say, if you're producing one car an hour, that's going to mean that you're producing that car for less, okay, when you compare it against the price of the car compared to the wages that you're paying those employees, okay? So I want you to think about an example there. So to achieve economies of scale, the business tries to reduce the cost of inputs, and again, using machinery, perhaps buying in bulk or increasing the specialization of labor, and at the same time increase the level of outputs. Okay, that's the idea of economies of scale. Reduce your costs, increase the level of outputs. The last way to achieve a cost advantage is to utilize technology. And look, you'd be crazy in an SME not to be utilizing some form of technology. Obviously, it enables improved efficiency and production, whether that's through, as an example, using computerization or the use of automation and robotics. This is going to help with your efficiency of production. Okay, that can even be included in things like retaining of client information or just using the internet and email. Okay, it seems really simple, but if you look at farming, for example, that's been an industry that's been quite slow in Australia in particular to pick up on technology in terms of communications, perhaps. But having said that, some farmers are much quicker to pick up farming technology, so a better cotton picker, for example, compared to an old harvester. Whilst expensive, it can improve your efficiency and production. So in farming, if you have a better cotton picker than the next farm, you're going to get off your cotton in time before that next big storm comes through. And you therefore have the cotton off, your next door neighbour doesn't, and you're the only cotton available to be bought. Improved efficiency and production, and ultimately it's going to improve your costs. Before I mentioned the fact that when you're aiming to have lower costs than your competitors, okay, you can't ignore quality. Here's a little snap from Tiger Air, launching an airline price war with airfares as low as $39 from Cairns to Brisbane. And you guys know that Tiger Airline is the budget airline. Okay, they're all about lowest prices. Well, then you can end up with this reputation. Refund requests, cancelled flights, and unexpected charges. And this is just recently, okay? You'll see that the article on the left is from September 2014. The one on the right is just from the other day, okay? Tiger's received the most complaints made to the airline customer advocate. And so, look, they have to give refunds back, okay? It's not just that they're going to lose customers, they're already having to pay back their current customers. So, just goes to show you cannot reduce quality to the point that you're really, really bad, okay? If people are going to choose to go Tiger, the price is going to have to be very, very low, okay? And people must have expectations that that price is going to come with a really poor customer service. Moving on to the second strategy to achieve a competitive advantage. We've done cost. Now we're looking at differentiation. Okay, guys? So the concept to this is to basically offer customers something that is not already offered by your business rivals, your competition. Okay? And there's a couple of ways that differentiation may be achieved. The first one is a high quality product. Okay? Mercedes is a really good example. Okay? If we go back to the airlines there, you could argue that people would fly more regularly with Qantas because they know that there's a greater chance that they're going to get to their destination than with Tiger, okay? And so people are willing to pay more for a higher quality product. That is the first way. Another one is innovative design, okay? Toyota have gone, you know what, we've got a reputation for building reasonably priced cars that are fairly bulletproof, apart from the fact that their airbags the other day got recalled. But they've looked at an innovative design, okay? Mercedes haven't brought out something like the Prius that has been as popular yet. So you can differentiate with an innovative design. Now that's going to require R&D, which costs a lot, but people might be into that, okay? So innovation is a good way to differentiate. Another way, which seems really simple, but by providing a positive brand image, okay, people would be actually quite keen to buy your product. Look at Ben & Jerry's, okay? This is just a screenshot from their website. You look at it, it looks all positive to me. I don't mind my cookies and cream or cookie dough, okay? They also have a very good corporate social responsibility program and give back to the community, okay? Most big companies do these days, but people will have they feel more fulfillment in buying your products. They feel better about buying your products if they know that it might be helping plant a tree or save a child in Africa, okay? That's another way to differentiate. And lastly, and this is one that every business should be aiming for, but for top quality service. If you look at all the staff at Shaw School and took a survey on the different coffee shops that they go down and use, I bet you it often comes down to the high quality product of the coffee, but also the top quality service. And the first little bakery down on the left down there on Blues Point Road, the little French patisserie, people love going there because they get the free little biscuit with their coffee as well, which is part of that top quality service. The last part of a competitive advantage is the sustaining part of it, which is ensuring long-term success. Okay, so long-term success is assured if a business sustains its competitive advantage. Okay, now that's not easy. Okay, it requires constant changes in your production methods. If you're going to go for cost strategies, okay. It means constantly having research and design if you want to be differentiating, okay? But if you want long-term success, you have to be continually monitoring and evaluating your competitive advantage. So A business must be able to resist the actions of competitors at the same time who introduce new strategies while also tracking changes within the industry. Okay, and that's in regards especially to technological changes. And I've mentioned this already, but to limit challenges from competitors, a business can firstly use research and development, which helps the business develop innovative products. That's in regards to our differentiation. Another way is to use patents or copyrights, which protects against copying of inventions. You could also have exclusive contracts. That might be with suppliers, which means a supplier gives preference to the business. We looked at the Coles case study the other day. We don't want to have a situation where we're squeezing our suppliers, but it might be good if you're the only person getting that top quality input from that supplier, and your competition can't get a hold of that input for whatever reason. Okay, and another way to limit challenges from competitors to sustain a competitive advantage is to lobby the government to limit foreign competition, and that would ideally aim to restrict imported products. Okay, and guys, that is identifying and sustaining competitive advantage.